such a time as this.
And welcome back to For Such a Time as This. I am your host, Pastor James Pittman. I almost hate to do this story, but I am. I think it needs to be done. Christianity Today ran an article. It's actually up on our Facebook page, For Such a Time as This, on our Facebook page, and it is entitled "Greg Laurie on Pastor Jared Wilson's Suicide. You will not be judged for the last thing you do before death." You will not be judged for the last thing you do before death. He goes on, Pastor Greg Laurie addressed the subject of suicide among Christians, arguing that you will not be judged for the last thing you did before death, but the last thing Jesus did before his death. In the wake of the suicide of Pastor Jared Wilson, Laurie, the longtime leader of Harvest Christian Fellowship in California, stressed in a message Thursday that, quote, "one dark moment in a Christian's life cannot undo what Christ did for us on the cross," close quote, citing Romans 8:38 and 39. The fact that you will not be judged for what you do right before death. Please give me the address. Give me the book, the chapter, and the verse that says that. Now, I'm going to assume the best. What he's trying to say is that no matter how much a true believer messes up, right? No matter what we do in life, no matter what mistakes we do, no matter how egregious, the true believer could never do anything to undo what was done at the cross. And in that, he's right. But listen to what is said after this. Wilson's wife told Laurie, who had visited with her and their sons, that right after his death, she strangely felt God's peace with her. That right after her husband committed suicide, she felt God's peace with her. She wrote regarding his death, "No more pain, no more struggle. You're made complete, and you're finally free. Suicide and depression fed you the worst lies, but you knew the truth of Jesus, and I know you're by his side right this very second. I love you forever, Thomas Jared Wilson, but I have to say that you being gone has completely ripped my heart out of my chest. Suicide doesn't get the last word, and I won't let it." Close quote. Now, got to be very sensitive on this subject, and granted, Miss Wilson, she is hurting, and I don't want to necessarily address that specifically, her situation in her words. But I will say this: I am disturbed that Christians in the church, leaders, particularly here, Greg Laurie and others, are putting some sort of positive spin on suicide. First of all, saying you won't be judged by the last act you did here on earth. Did God tell you that? Because I'm pretty sure there's no verse in the Bible that says that. And no, you will not be judged if you are a true believer to the point where you go to hell. We're not talking about that. But you know what? You can say something simple. You know what? He struggled. He's in God's hands now. Move on. But this spinning, this whitewashing, a very horrific act. No more pain, no more struggle. You made complete, and you're finally free. Suicide and depression fed you the worst lies, but you knew the truth of Jesus, and now you're by his side right this very second. Is that the message we want to encourage people to hear if they're struggling with suicide? If someone is struggling with suicide and they hear those words, what do you think you're feeding? What do we think we're saying? Are we encouraging them to believe in God's word, trust in his truth, and not the feelings that spring from lies? Trust God, live your life obedient and trusting God. Is that what they're hearing? Or are they hearing, I can be made free? I can go to his side. I can be in a better place. and suicide is the way. Even in this difficult situation, I do not believe Christians have the freedom to twist the truth. And again, you can't judge people at their lowest moments, and that's not what I'm doing. Okay, but for those who are not as close to the situation as Ms. Wilson is, you don't come out and put a positive spin on this. And again, let me be very clear. Suicide is not a noble act. It's not. It's not a noble act. I may get some heat for this, but it is not something to be glorified, and it is not something to be encouraged. And even in the midst of pain, we have to be careful with our words, because again, there are some people out there struggling with suicide, and we do not want our words to convey a message that we don't mean. Okay? Suicide is not a glorious act. It is not a hero's act. Okay? It's not. And I think we have to be very clear in the Christian world, even in the midst of pain, not to send the wrong message because we want so much to comfort those who are hurting. Even in the pain, we just simply are not allowed and we're not permitted to twist the truth.
For such a time as this,